Hello, everybody, and welcome to this month's vlogcast. I am delighted to have with me Craig Sowerby. Now, Craig has done an amazing thing. He's cycled all the way from John O'Groats to Land's End and raised a phenomenal amount of money for MPN Voice. Welcome, Craig, and thank you so much for that mammoth journey that you did in aid of MPN Voice. First of all, I would just like to ask you about your PV and how you came to be diagnosed.
Yeah, that's fine, Nona. So thanks for having me on the call today. So I actually was diagnosed back in August 23. But before that, I actually didn't know I had cancer. I didn't know I had any symptoms whatsoever. So it was really strange how I sort of found out about me having PV. So earlier that year in January, so January 23, I came back from a skiing holiday, and the last day I was extremely ill, which wasn't a good end to the holiday. So obviously when I got back, I went to the doctors, and I actually had E. coli. So I eventually got over the E. coli. Sort of took me about a month, and then I ended up getting prostatitis, which was an awful thing to have. And eventually I got over that. So the sort of procedure getting over that was sort of antibiotics and sort of rest. But then the sort of doctor was a bit sort of concerned why I was sort of getting these illnesses sort of quite quickly. So they ended up doing some blood tests. And in the blood tests, it was showing that my red blood cell count was very high, and also my platelets was very high. So there was still a little bit concerned. So they would do blood tests every month, and they were still high, and they were getting to a sort of a dangerous height. So obviously they sent me to a specialist, and when I went to see the specialist, he actually sort of told me then I did have blood cancer. So that's how I sort of found out. But then the illnesses that I had earlier in the year were not related whatsoever to my blood cancer. So lucky on my point of view that they actually found it through me being ill with something else.
What a journey and what a shock for you. How did you manage that shock to suddenly find you'd been told you had a blood cancer?
It was very, very scary. The initial question I actually asked the consultant was, "How long do I have left?" In which he sort of replied back to me. He said, "If we can manage this PV by doing venisections, which they are doing, then it can be controlled." So once we'd obviously come home, obviously shed a few tears, told family what was going on. We actually came to terms with it, and at present, sort of fingers crossed, the treatment is working. So same again, I feel very, very lucky because I have family members, I have friends who've had various types of cancer, and we've lost them within weeks, months. So it's still scary at the moment because you never know if it's going to progress into leukemia, which the consultant actually said that possibly might happen. But at present, like I say, everything's going how it should be.
That's amazing. And so has it affected your work, or what sort of symptoms have you had?
So yeah, it has affected my work. I am actually a bit of a workaholic. I actually run my own construction company, which I have done for the past 20 years. And I'm always sort of there for my clients and my customers. So I would be working evenings, weekends, where now I've stopped working evenings, I've stopped working weekends. It's made me look at my life and the whole situation, how I want to lead my life, really. But yeah, it's changed a lot, and also my wife as well, and also my kids. You know, I think they've realised you have to appreciate what you have, um, because it can just be taken away from you so quickly.
As a fellow PV sufferer, I think fatigue is the greatest challenge that we have. And I think for me, it's also been about pacing, pacing oneself as much as you can.
Yeah.
And that's tough, isn't it, when you have a family and you have lots of things going on in life? And have you got any top tips as to how you might manage fatigue?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Same again. I feel really, really lucky because the only symptom that I had, this is another funny story, was itchy skin. After a shower, um, I would just have so itchy skin. So then obviously before I was diagnosed, we were trying different shampoos, different soaps, all that sort of stuff. And obviously once I was diagnosed, the consultant did tell me that that was a symptom. It's more on and off now. Sometimes it can be sort of bad, and other times I don't have it for months on end. So I'm lucky that way. As for fatigue, I don't feel tired. I don't feel ill. So same again. I feel so lucky because there's so many other PV sufferers that have fatigue. They have to take days off work. Where I can manage work. I'm okay with that. Obviously, I've stopped working evenings and weekends. So I'm probably still doing maybe 50, 60 hours a week. But yeah, I'm trying to cut back on my workload.
That sounds very sensible. Now, tell me about how you got in touch with MPN Voice and put together this amazing journey.
So obviously, my consultant um, gave me a few leaflets and booklets, and obviously websites, Facebook pages, and I sort of went through them all because I just wanted to find out, from other people who suffer from PV and obviously other blood cancers, symptoms is the ways that we can sort of improve our life or improve the life expectancy as well. But then obviously I came across MPN Voice, and you guys have sort of helped me answer all my questions that I wanted answering. And then obviously with being a keen cyclist, I've actually always wanted to do cycle John O'Groats to Land's End, but this just made me give me a massive purpose and to get it done.
Tell me a bit about the journey.
So we set off obviously at John O'Groats to Land's End. Now when I first told my wife I was doing this, she was like, well, you can't do it, you've got cancer. And I said, no, I can do it and I will do it. And I wanted to do it because obviously when you're told you've got cancer, you just think you're not going to have long to live. So I want to do all the things that I've set, on your bucket list or what you've got in your head that you want to do, and that this was one of them things that I really wanted to do. And she obviously my wife's looked into it herself, and she said that everybody who does it goes from Land's End to John O'Groats, not John O'Groats to Land's End. Because if you go from Land's End to John O'Groats, you're more likely get a tailwind, and obviously the sun's not on your eyes. So it's an easier way to do it that way. But I always had it in my head. I wanted to go from John O'Groats to Land's End, and that's the way I did it.
What an amazing thing, and what an inspiration to actually, with a diagnosis like that, to actually then think, well, I'm going to live and do the things I want to do. Because I think, we obviously at this point in time, PV can't be cured, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we'll die of it. We'll die with it, but not necessarily die of it. So I think you're so right about living for what we do have, not what we might have to come across in the near future. That really is inspirational. And tell me about the fundraising aspect of it, because that's quite a challenge for anybody wanting to fundraise and raise the amount of money that you raised.
Yeah. So initially, obviously, I wanted to raise money for MPN Voice, and I probably thought, I would sort of get a target of £1,000, and if I got that, that was excellent. Because I wanted to do these cycling rides anyway. Trying to raise money for MPN Voice was a bit of a bonus, really. And we set off. Obviously, I was in touch with yourselves, sort of how to set things up, and we got a Just Giving page set up. and done it that way. And then obviously I would let everybody know, like my family members, my friends, what I was doing. And it sort of snowballed from there. Obviously, when I was out doing each day, I would do a little video of the morning, dinner time, and at night time, and everybody that I spoke to were so engrossed in where I was at, where I was traveling, that everybody sort of got on board, and the support was just truly amazing.
I know it's been an amazing thing just hearing about what you did. And can you share with us how much you raised for MPN Voice?
Yeah, so at present I've raised let me just have a check on the site. So it's at £11,851. So it's yeah,
Wow.
it's
Wow.
an amazing amount.
Well, I can tell you it'll be put to very good use. But it is an amazing amount. And I think, that's a big fundraising effort and huge and very much appreciated. But every little bit of fundraising, it doesn't have to be from doing a bike ride. It can be just a knitting circle, or lots of people might see that you can have fun doing your fundraising for MPN Voice. And one of the problems we have, of course, is that we're not like Macmillan or some of the bigger charities, Leukemia Care, who attract lots of money, which is why we do have to raise money to do research projects and also other things for the community, which is building. It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I mean, another question is, what would you hope for for PV patients within the next 5 years? What would you hope could happen?
Obviously, I would hope that the research that they're doing, that they can possibly find a cure, or if they can't find a cure, at least help people live and manage with PV, so it doesn't affect them as much. Like I say, I keep saying I'm lucky because I don't feel ill. I don't feel as though there's anything wrong with me. Okay, if we didn't have the treatment that I am doing, which is just the venesection, this is bringing my blood levels down. Obviously, I would get more serious complications, of possibly a blood clot and a heart attack or a stroke, which is obviously can be sort of well, it will be life changing if something like that happened. But if we can just keep raising money and having the research to sort of find better ways for the people that aren't managing to live a normal life, and they do find the fatigue or other symptoms sort of difficult to live with it, if we can try and help with that, then people with this sort of blood cancer can lead as normal life as possible.
I agree with you, and I, like you, have had a relatively easy journey in the 33 years I've had it. But I have met people in my role as co-chair who have not had an easy time with having PV, and people then who go on to have MF. But it's something that I think we all feel passionate about. It would be brilliant, wouldn't it, if there could be better treatments available. There's a lot more research being done now than there was even 10 years ago. So I live in hope that in 5 years' time, things will be even better. But Craig, thank you so much, because this has been an inspiration. And I hope people watching will, I think the highlight for me is when you said about wanting to do all the things that you can do and not allowing PV to completely dominate your life. I think that's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. I think it's also, even though all the researchers and the hospitals, the doctors, nurses do a fantastic job, I think also it's down to the individual. You really have to be positive. Keep them positive thoughts, do the things that you want to do. Try not to feel negative and down. I know it's difficult, especially in the first weeks, months that you have been diagnosed with any cancer at all or any illness. But if you could just keep yourself positive and wanting to do the things that you want to do, then I think that'll definitely help you along your journey.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today. And I hope very soon that our paths will cross and I will meet you in person to say a huge thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. That'll be lovely.